Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our third lockdown podcast in our colour strategy series featuring Bud Green, the birth colour for May. Now, unfortunately, as I've explained in previous podcasts, we're unable to reach the studio to film our demonstrations and give you a visual explanation due to the lockdown restrictions, so we've had to improvise this month. Now, just to introduce ourselves, I am Laura. I am the IT part of our flowery duo.
And I am Debbie, the floristry side of our duo. It's lovely to keep in touch with you all, despite it being verbal only. Hopefully it won't be long before we can resume our places in the studio. So Laura, May, your birth month.
It certainly is. Now, today our theme is home decor. Debbie and I are going to describe how to put together an artificial foliage wall for your home. Now, this is a fantastic way to introduce some green into your home, especially now. So tell us some of the benefits of this, Debs.
Well, foliage helps to create a more relaxing environment. This actually helps to reduce stress, anxiety and depression. As we're going to use artificial foliage, the panel can be installed in a dark position if desired, where perhaps fresh plants wouldn't usually thrive.
And being artificial, I'm guessing it's low maintenance. So no watering, no pruning, no bugs associated with fresh plants. So you get all the benefits of the fresh by creating an illusion with artificial. What's not to like?
Indeed. The only thing you'll need to do is probably give it an occasional dusting. Though I must admit, not a lot of dusting gets done in my house, despite the lockdown.
Me neither. I'd much rather spend my time outdoors in the garden with the plants and the flowers.
Oh, totally. And another benefit of this design is actually it's lightweight, so it's really easy to hang.
So would this work anywhere else, Debs?
Yeah, it would suit a weather-protected outdoor position, or maybe a summer house or conservatory where the temperatures can be far too hot for living plants. You may find you get a little bit of fading with the colour, but as it's artificial, you can replace sections if you need to.
Right, so let's get started. Grab a coffee, get comfy and enjoy. So what ingredients are we using today? Will we need any special tools for this design?
Well, the most important thing you need to start with really is the plastic flower wall panel. So these come in a 50 by 50 centimetre square and they easily clip together. So you can actually create any size to fit the position you have in mind.
So you could cover a larger area or even an entire wall if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could actually. You just need to multiply what we're going to do today enough times to sufficiently cover the area you want to fill.
So this is really versatile then. Let's get back to our ingredients.
Okay, so you need a selection of artificial foliage. You can use both plastic and silk for this. I'd recommend a varied selection, I should say, of both textures, colour and lengths. And you can include both trailing and bushy styles. You're also going to need some dried and or preserved moss. Again, I'd have a nice sort of mixed selection of that if you can.
So you can get loads of inspiration from our website on what to use. We have lots of different colours, varieties of different styles of moss. Now, moss is actually really beneficial in a home environment because it's antibacterial, antifungal, and of course, it's environmentally friendly. So that just leaves the tools. So what do we require?
Yeah, so apart from the usual floristry box, including your scissors, I'd recommend some real wire, a good pair of wire cutters, some floral adhesive, and if you have one, a glue gun.
Usually when we start a design, Debbie, we separate all of the materials into individual groups. Is it the same for this design?
Yeah, I'd still apply the same preparation principles and lay everything out in groups. You can then see what you have to work with. Okay, so let's start by gluing the moss onto the panel in sections. This will be your background and form a frame between the wall and your foliage. Almost like the background to a painting, if you like.
So in effect, you'll be building a picture or a collage with foliage on top of the moss to give you your textured wall panel. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Once the moss is secure and glued in position, start adding the trailing foliage first. You can actually do this to create length and drape to your design, placing it near the lower edge of the frame, or you could add it to the top of the frame and allow it to trail over the positioned moss.
So I can see now why it's best to lay out the foliage first before you start making it. You could almost make a mock-up of the finished arrangement before you glue it all into position.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It also gives you the opportunity to make sure you have sufficient stems to complete your design. And if you do that mock-up, it actually gives you the confidence that it's going to look good when you're finished.
Now, once you have placed the trailing foliage, you are left with a selection of different shapes and textures. Where do you position those?
Okay, so I'd insert the more dominant types, that's colour-wise and shape, so they're a little bit more focal or prominent, and then fill any gaps with the remaining pieces, making sure you can still see the background of moss showing through in places. Use wire to secure any of the heavier stems by threading them through the frame and securing at the back, and any that sort of rely on being glued onto the moss directly, really.
Is this because the moss is not substantial enough to hold the weight of the stems?
It's partly that, and it's also an added precaution. Once the panel is installed, gravity will take charge.
And you don't want a massive pile of foliage on the floor.
Absolutely not. So once you're happy with your design, hang it where desired and enjoy.
So this would be a really good way to use any leftover silk foliage that you've got from previous jobs. And if you wanted to, you could also include some silk flowers.
Yeah, you could include silk flowers. I would, however, recommend that you use something that's seasonally appropriate, so your design looks a bit current.
That's a really good point, Debs. Now that brings us to the end of our demonstration. And if you can imagine it, it's looking fabulous on the wall. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our third podcast for Bud Green. What have we got up next, Debbie?
So next we're going to be doing a corporate design, creating a modern anthurium arrangement.
I am looking forward to it. I hope you all are as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Stay safe, keep well, and bye for now.